You know what changes a child forever? Not always screaming. Not always cruelty. Sometimes it's one sentence said casually by someone they're supposed to trust. One sentence that tells them they don't belong. And honestly, I still remember the exact moment my mother looked at my 8-year-old daughter across the dinner table and said the words that shattered something inside me instantly. She's not really family anyway. Silence. Complete silence. Even the sound of silverware stopped. And when I looked at my daughter's face, that's the moment I realized some wounds don't heal easily once a child hears them. But what my mother didn't know was this: 3 months earlier, my father had quietly changed his will before he passed away, and he left the entire lake house to my daughter. The same little girl my mother had just dismissed in front of everyone. Now trust me, by the time the lawyer finished reading Dad's final letter aloud, the entire family looked at my daughter very differently. But honestly, by then, the damage from that dinner had already changed all of us permanently. Now, before I tell you about the inheritance and everything that happened afterward, you need to understand my family dynamics growing up. Because toxic behavior rarely starts suddenly. It builds slowly through favoritism, control, and emotional conditions attached to love. My parents cared deeply about appearances. Especially my mother. Everything had to look right publicly. The perfect family. The perfect traditions. The perfect image. And unfortunately, when I became a single father years later, that image cracked in ways she never fully accepted. Now my daughter Emma came into my life through adoption when she was only 4 years old. And honestly, from the second I met her, something inside me shifted permanently. She had already experienced more instability in 4 years than many adults face in a lifetime. Quiet little girl, always nervous, flinched at loud voices, apologized constantly for existing. And the first time she hugged me willingly, I remember realizing how desperately children need safety more than perfection. Now becoming a father changed everything about me emotionally. Especially my understanding of strength, because real strength isn't dominance, it's protection, patience, consistency. Showing up every single day even when life feels exhausting. That's one reason health and fitness became even more important after adopting Emma. I needed stability mentally and emotionally for her. Training gave me discipline during stressful seasons. The gym became more than exercise. It became emotional regulation, a place where I could process stress without carrying it home. And honestly, that matters deeply as a parent. Kids absorb emotional energy constantly. Now, while my father accepted Emma almost immediately, my mother stayed emotionally distant from the beginning, never openly cruel initially, just cold, subtle comments, exclusions, the kind of behavior people can deny later because technically it sounds small. But children notice everything, especially children already afraid of rejection. Now, my dad was different completely. He adored Emma, taught her fishing, built puzzles with her for hours, even started calling her Lake Girl because she loved visiting the family lake house every summer. And honestly, watching them together healed something inside me too. Because for the first time, I saw softness in my father I never experienced much growing up myself. Now the lake house mattered deeply to my dad. It had been in our family for decades. Small place. Nothing flashy, but peaceful. Quiet mornings. Fishing docks, old wooden porch, and honestly, some of my best memories with Emma happened there. No phones, no distractions, just connection. That's rare now. Now, about a year before my father passed away, his health started declining rapidly. Heart problems, fatigue, multiple hospital visits. And during that period, Emma became his shadow constantly, reading to him, drawing pictures for him, sitting beside him quietly during treatments, and honestly, I think she brought him peace emotionally during a difficult season. Now, one afternoon while I was helping him outside near the dock, my dad said something I didn't fully understand at the time. Blood doesn't make family. Loyalty does. At the time, I thought he was just reflecting emotionally. I didn't realize he was already making decisions none of us knew about yet. Now, after he passed away, the entire family dynamic changed almost immediately. Funerals reveal hidden tensions incredibly fast. Suddenly, inheritance conversations started quietly. Property discussions, financial assumptions, and honestly, my mother became strangely possessive about the lake house specifically, talking constantly about keeping it in the family. That phrase bothered me every time she said it, because deep down, I knew exactly what she meant. Now, 3 months later, we all gathered for a family dinner before the official estate meeting with the attorney. And honestly, that dinner changed everything permanently. Emma was excited to be there initially. She wore the little blue dress my dad once told her made her look like sunshine by the lake. And hearing her say that nearly broke me emotionally afterward. Now, during dinner, my sister started discussing the lake house casually, talking about renovations, vacation plans, future ownership possibilities, like the decision had already been made privately somehow. And then Emma, being an innocent 8-year-old, smiled and said something simple. Grandpa always said the lake house would always be my happy place. That's it. Just an innocent child remembering someone she loved. But my mother's expression changed instantly. Cold. Sharp. And then she said the sentence I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Well, she's not really family anyway. Honestly, the room felt physically colder afterward. Emma froze immediately. You know that expression children make when their heart breaks but they're trying not to cry publicly? That expression destroys me still. Now, I reacted instantly. Told my mother never to speak about my daughter that way again. But honestly, the damage was already done, because children remember rejection from family forever. Especially adopted children already struggling with belonging emotionally. Now here's the part that still hurts most. Emma quietly asked me afterward in the car, "Does Grandma hate me because I'm adopted?" That question shattered me completely. And honestly, no parent fully prepares for moments like that. Because suddenly your job isn't just protecting your child physically anymore. It's protecting their identity, their sense of worth, their emotional safety. Now that night after Emma finally fell asleep crying, I sat alone for hours thinking about my father. And honestly, I realized something important. He saw what was happening long before I fully accepted it emotionally. That's why what happened next changed everything. Now, the following morning, the family gathered at the attorney's office for the official reading of the will. Tension everywhere. People pretending to grieve while calculating outcomes privately. And honestly, those environments reveal character quickly. Now, initially, everything sounded predictable enough. Financial distributions, savings, investments. Then the attorney paused before discussing the lake house, and suddenly the room became very quiet. I remember my mother sitting up straighter confidently, my sister already smiling slightly. Then the attorney read the words my father had written personally. I leave the lake house entirely to my granddaughter, Emma. Silence, absolute silence. My mother looked genuinely confused initially, then angry, and honestly, nobody knew what to say. But the attorney wasn't finished. Because my father also left a personal letter attached specifically explaining his decision. And trust me, hearing those words aloud changed the room permanently. In the letter, my father wrote, "Emma taught me more about love and courage in 8 years than many people learn in a lifetime. She brought peace into this family when we desperately needed it. Anyone capable of questioning whether she belongs does not understand what family truly means." Honestly, My mother looked like she'd been slapped emotionally. Because for the first time publicly, my father had directly confronted the behavior he stayed quieter about while alive. Then the letter continued. The lake house was happiest when Emma filled it with laughter. I want the place that brought our family together to belong to the child who loved it most purely. And honestly, at that point even the attorney looked emotional reading it. Now here's the interesting part. The inheritance itself mattered far less to me than what the letter represented emotionally. Validation. Protection. Proof my father saw the truth before he died, because adopted children spend so much time wondering if they're truly accepted fully. And my father made sure Emma would never question how he felt about her again. Now afterward, my mother tried arguing privately, claimed Dad had been manipulated emotionally, said Emma wasn't his real granddaughter, and honestly, hearing that no longer made me angry, just disappointed, because some people value biology so much they completely miss what actually creates family. Love, consistency, protection, presence. Now eventually, I made a difficult decision. I reduced contact significantly with my mother afterward, not out of revenge, out of responsibility. Because protecting your child emotionally sometimes requires setting painful boundaries. And honestly, fitness taught me that lesson long before parenting did. Discipline means protecting long-term health even when uncomfortable emotionally. That applies physically and relationally. Now today, Emma is older, confident, strong, still loves that lake house more than anywhere else in the world. And honestly, every time I watch her running down that old dock laughing, I think about my father's letter. Because he understood something many people never learn. Family is not created by blood alone. It's created by who shows up consistently with love, who protects you, who chooses you repeatedly. So if you're listening right now while feeling rejected, excluded, or treated like you don't belong somewhere, hear me carefully. Other people do not get to define your worth based on biology, status, or outdated ideas about family. Real family is built through love, loyalty, and presence. And sometimes the people who choose you become more important than the people who simply share your DNA.